Former Galaxy striker and international superstar Zlatan Ibrahimovic calls it a career. LAFC falls short in CONCACAF Champions League, and USC and UCLA football both add to their recruiting classes. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. It's June 5th, 2023, and we have added multiple subscribers to the Angelino familia. Thank you for getting in on the ground floor. I appreciate you guys because we are trying to build something here for LA sports. And if you like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means, comment. Now, we have a lot of soccer to get to today. But before we do, a quick look at the scoreboard. Yankees 4, Dodgers 1. Now, the Yankees win the series, and that bothers me because I'm old enough. When I was a kid, I saw the Yankees and Dodgers get down in 3 World Series. It was like a prison riot. I long for those days. But take a step back and ask yourself, do the Dodgers now have a legit addition to their starting rotation in rookie Bobby Miller? The Yankees have a hell of a lineup. Those 4 runs that were allowed were all by the Dodgers bullpen. Miller only allowed 1 base hit in 6 innings. Meanwhile, Club Leon wins its first ever CONCACAF Champions League title with a 1-0 victory over LAFC in Los Angeles. LAFC lost both legs in the final. But you know what's even worse than losing a final? When you find out that the team you lost to is nicknamed the Green Bellies. The Green Bellies? Really? I'm not exactly popping my collar over being last in the MLS, but we haven't lost to anything named after, I don't know, a cartoon character. We didn't lose to 11 Barneys on the pitch. We're good, right? We'll figure it out at some point. But the Green Bellies, really? We'll talk more about that match in a few minutes. Meanwhile, today, nothing at all. And I know it's a Monday, but I'm rooting for you. Go out tonight, try to get lucky. There was a fleeting moment, a wish, if you will, brewing for a couple of hours Sunday morning. AC Milan announced it would not renew Zlatan Ibrahimovic's contract when it expires at the end of June. Now, Ibrahimovic, who's 42, he had suffered a series of injuries in the last year, and it severely impacted his ability to contribute in Serie A. Now, you can appreciate why Galaxy fans held that hope, because 6 years ago, Zlatan decided to join MLS to prove he could still play at an elite level after another career-threatening injury. In a Galaxy kit, the guy set MLS ablaze with 53 goals in just 2 seasons. He also scored his 500th goal wearing the blue, white, and gold. He was welcome back to Europe, of course, because he had proven his point. This time, however, he decides to hang up his boots and retire. And it ends the career of one of sport's few worldwide superstars. What do I mean by worldwide? You could go, for example, to all 4 corners of the globe, and everybody knows who LeBron James is. But what about athletes outside of the United States? How many of those would be in the United States and we would go, yeah, I know who that guy is? Well, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was that superstar. It was more than just the 561 goals that he scored for both club and country. And it wasn't just that he was at the forefront for clubs synonymous with soccer. AC Milan, Manchester United, Ajax, Paris Saint-Germain, Inter Milan. It wasn't just that the man lifted 34 trophies in the course of his career. No. Although those are just some jaw-dropping concepts and numbers. What made this Swede a superstar was that he would tell you how he was going to kick your ass. Then he would kick your ass exactly the way he told you he was going to kick your ass. And then he would gloat about having kicked your ass. Very few people on this planet can do that. Very, very few. Now, if you believe trash talking is fair, so long as you can back it up, then Zlatan Ibrahimovic was your guy. The Lions' roar was not unwarranted. And behind the bravado came a maniacal devotion to being the best soccer player in the world. You take that maniacal devotion and you combine it with God's given talent, It makes the miraculous look effortless. It does. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was like Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston, only Zlatan had a ponytail. He was Kobe Bryant with a hardcore sense of humor. Imagine for a moment if Wayne Gretzky had no humility whatsoever and was unfiltered in public 24/7. That was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. El Tráfico would not be the rivalry that MLS hypes it as, if not for the Lion. The guy arrived in LA, he had a fallout with Manchester United. People with big egos have fallouts all the time, you gotta realize. And he announces himself here by purchasing a full-page ad in the LA Times with the message, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." Ibrahimovic was not one for humble brags. And by the way, you can find as many outrageous Ibrahimovic quotes on the internet as you can find outrageous Ibrahimovic goals on the internet. And they're both popular internet rabbit holes. You want to waste a few hours, you go do that today, I tell you. So I had to see this guy play. His debut comes in the inaugural El Tráfico on March 31st, 2018. Now, the Galaxy had earned the embarrassing wooden spoon the prior year. It's a fictitious award given to the worst team in MLS. LAFC, meanwhile, they were a brash, ambitious exhibition team. The black and gold, they had rolled out to a 3-0 lead that day. Zlatan is on the bench, and a surly crowd is chanting for him to take the pitch, which came in the 71st minute, the 71st. Soon after, his left leg swats at a high bouncing ball and he sends a rocket into the back of the LAFC net from 45 yards out to tie the match. And the crowd went unhinged in disbelief and joy. And my words cannot do the impact of that goal justice. That goal was voted the most exciting goal in MLS history. And Zlatan was on the pitch for just 6 minutes. That is impact. And oh, by the way, he goes on and he heads in the game-winning goal in stoppage time. Bedlam once again. And afterward, in his typical smirking bombast, Zlatan says, "I heard the crowd chanting, 'We want Zlatan, we want Zlatan.' So I gave them Zlatan." I could not get my mind off that performance for days. Real talk, I couldn't. I mean, I've never been pistol whipped, right? But I could imagine that both everybody who roots for the Galaxy and everybody rooting for LSD had PTSD for days after that performance. Ibrahimovic made excelling in the fledgling derby, by the way, a personal crusade. He scored 9 times against LAFC, and he let everyone in black and gold know about it. Their fans, their players, and yes, their coaches. His 500th goal came against Toronto FC, and Toronto FC, that goal, was nominated for FIFA's Goal of the Year. Not the best match or the best goal in MLS, the greatest goal on planet Earth that year. But that debut was the last time I'd completely lost my composure in any sporting event, live or on TV. The last time I did was on TV. Might have been when Landon Donovan scored at stoppage time for the U.S. to advance in the 2010 World Cup. And that got me contemplating the impact of both players on the game in the United States. Which meant more, or which meant more to the Galaxy. And I go back and forth about it. I really do. It's easy to say Donovan because he won MLS Cup repeatedly, Zlatan did not. But in retrospect, the reason Zlatan did not is likely due to Chris Klein, the guy who led the Galaxy's lost decade of sub-mediocrity before getting fired last week. The Galaxy are one of the few teams in MLS with an internationally recognized brand. It's likely why Ibrahimovic came here as opposed to any other team in the United States. Had he known what he was getting into under Klein, would he have been as likely to come to LA? Would he? Had he known? It wasn't fair of the 2018 Galaxy to climb on his broad shoulders and ask him to carry them all the way to MLS Cup. Seen through that prism, though, it does make sense that Galaxy supporters, including me, would damn near beg the man to return and close his career here. But if we're being honest with ourselves, the Galaxy did not deserve him then. So do we deserve him now? Not until we build ourselves back up again in LA. Instead, I think it's just enough to thank the 42-year-old Lion who came to MLS, conquered MLS, and left. He already told us we were welcome. As a Galaxy supporter, I took a lot of pleasure in watching my friends get extremely petty at LAFC for losing CONCACAF Champions League last night. One is from a friend who I watch a lot of soccer with. He tagged the 3-2-5-2, but good, because the 3-2-5-2, the LAFC supporters group, had a pre-match tifo. We're not going to get into it just now. But from the match, there is a massive question that I have. Is this the blueprint to defeat the black and gold during the rest of the season? Because make no mistake, Leon's defense was on point. LAFC has gone goalless 4 times this year. 2 of them were scoreless ties. The only other time where they were shut out and it was a loss was to the Galaxy. But let's be honest with ourselves. LAFC sent out a bunch of second teamers and third teamers on the pitch. They were not taking that match in US Open Cup seriously. This time, LAFC did have their number 1 guys on the pitch, and they were just shut down in their own crib. So, you have to ask, what was Leon doing defensively that other teams have not tried yet? And could MLS teams try that? Now, you could sit there and say, well, you know, LAFC's Tim Tillman, he stepped on it before the finals, claiming that Mexican players are all about emotion and no tactics. But are you sure that Leon won due to emotion over 180 minutes? Are you sure it was just emotion? Because I don't believe that for a moment. I think there was a strategy. Because Leon only allowed LAFC 1 goal in 2 games. It wasn't just emotion. There was a plan in place to stop them. The LA Times, meanwhile, they were already scapegoating Carlos Vela. So I ask you, though, is that fair? The case that the Times built is he's 34 and that he looked really tired out there. That may be true, maybe. He was once the most feared attacker on this side of the planet, but he was neutralized by Leon. So, how much of the blame goes on Carlos Vela, but how much of the credit goes to Leon for a plan that theoretically could be duplicated across MLS? Theoretically. USC's football team received 2 commitments in the class of 2024 Sunday. The bigger one, the bigger get, if you will, is probably 4-star safety Jarvis Boatwright of Clearwater, Florida. The one who committed first plays offensive line in high school. That's Hayden Tretter of Colorado. There are 5 players that have committed to USC so far in the class of 2024. Meanwhile, another offensive lineman who left USC has found a new place to play. Jason Rodriguez, he'll be transferring to Nevada. Meanwhile, over at UCLA, linebacker Blake Tabarachi, who is a 3-star prospect from Utah, is committed to join the Bruins. The Bruins recruiting class now has 2 linebackers, along with Isaiah Patterson from Washington. You also wonder if that's the influence of Ken Norton, the former UCLA linebacking great who now coaches with the Bruins. There are 6 commitments to UCLA for 2024. And again, I want to remind you, ever since the end of college football season, I've been pounding this drum. The first school to sanity wins. Whether it's USC or UCLA, the first school to play defense wins. Dave Roberts talked with reporters about Trace Thompson's injury before Sunday's game. Quote, with the oblique, unfortunately, it seems like 30 days is the floor, and we'll reassess after that. So Thompson is out for 30 days. Meanwhile, former Dodgers pitcher Roger Craig, who won titles in both Brooklyn and Los Angeles, has passed away at the age of 93. He was considered the godfather of the split-fingered fastball, and that's a pitch that just dives straight down, right just before it hits home plate. He was also a manager. Pro Football Focus, or POOF, has soured on Chargers cornerback J.C. Jackson. Now, going into last season, Jackson had developed a reputation as a ball hawk in New England. He was a top 5 cornerback. Now, he doesn't even crack the top 32 corners in the league in PFF's rankings. Now, to be fair, he is coming off of knee surgery, so a bounce-back season is possible. But that is a hell of a drop. That is a hell of a drop. Offensive coordinator, I should say, Kellen Moore, thinks that the offensive line is going to be a handful for opponents this season, in particular the left side with Rashawn Slater and Zion Johnson. Now, it makes me wonder, is it a plus because the left side obviously protects Justin Herbert's backside, his blind side, or is it a strength because that's where the Bolts want to establish a running game with Austin Eckler? Or maybe it's even both. The website Turf Show Times is usually pretty bright when it comes to Rams coverage. They asked a series of questions about the Rams draft class. The one that really caught my eye, that was a little disturbing: who is the best pro 5 years from now? The answer: punter Ethan Evans. A punter. Now, the rationale makes sense. He has only one job, and if he excels at that one job, he's going to have the most impact. Use your leg. That leg is powerful. Voila. And he's young and affordable. But it's still the punter. You had 14 draft picks. Everything else apparently is guesswork for the other 13. Who could be the better pro? Right now, it's the punter. The only question that was resolved, apparently, out of all those questions on the Rams roster is punter. Yikes. Now, I don't want to make that totally negative. We have mentioned rookie edge rusher Byron Young a few dozen times, and the more you learn about him, the more you like. He was drafted because he was an athletic freak, but both scouts and scribes who have seen him play in college and practice with the Rams say he doesn't take any plays off. The Rams knew what they were getting because he crushed the pre-draft interview. He was telling them about being humble, about making a living working at the Dollar General while going to college. And then, of course, working his way up to facing the SEC competition. So the desire will be there. The question is, are the numbers going to follow? Another scribe said that this guy, if he gets more than 3 sacks as a rookie, then that's a success. That's a pretty low bar, but we'll have to see. The Clippers have worked out Marquise Noel of Kansas State. Don't read too much into that. We're just trying to keep track and watch out for trends. Because recall, a lot of scouts think that the Clippers are really hype on improving power forward. So why did they bring in a guard? Speaking of guards, former guard Reggie Jackson was shipped off to Denver as part of the Mason Plumlee trade. The Nuggets are in the NBA Finals, currently tied 1-1 with Miami. Now, Jackson, to his credit, is not rubbing it in. It's all love, always, he said, unquote. He added a bunch of other complimentary things about the Clippers, but it felt like he was laying it on a little thick, so let's not go through all that. But good for Reggie Jackson. We are 5 games into a 40-game WNBA regular season, and what can I tell you about the Sparks? It looks like, for the most part, they play defense. They average 9.3 steals a game. That's second in the league. They also do a decent job of focusing their defense on taking away one of the opposing best players. They held Diana Taurasi of Phoenix, for example, to 4 of 15 shooting on one night. Another night, Asia Wilson was 4 of 12 out of Las Vegas in field goal attempts. But you let me know what you think of the comments thread. Talk to me about Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Talk to me about what LAFC, if that's a harbinger of bad things in CONCACAF, or if it's something that should be celebrated because it'll be the first of many CONCACAF Champions Finals. Tell me about USC and UCLA. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.